2x4s, glue squeezing out the seams, and not a single bar clamp in sight. Just a length of rope wound tight, humming with tension like a halyard in a stiff wind. 30 seconds later, the boards are locked together harder than any clamp in a hardware store could manage. That's not a gimmick. That's a rigging trick sailors have used on deck for 200 years. And it still outperforms half the stuff gathering dust in your garage. If you've ever stood in the tool aisle staring at a ratchet strap, a bar clamp, a come-along, and a bench vise, wondering which one you actually need, you already believe the thing most people believe, that different jobs need different tools. Here's the contrarian take. You don't need 4 tools. You need 1 rope and 1 knot. My name's Robert Barry, and rope work isn't a hobby for me. It's inherited. My father spent 30 years as a bosun on merchant ships out of New Bedford, and before that, his father worked the rigging on fishing schooners. I still carry his marlin spike in my toolbox, the same one he used to splice line and set deck rigging before winches did the heavy lifting. He taught me that a sailor who couldn't tie off a load properly didn't stay on deck for long. Everything I'm about to show you comes straight off a ship's deck. Today, I'm going to show you the trucker's hitch. Sailors called versions of it a gun tackle or lashing hitch, 1 knot, 4 jobs. By the end of this video, you'll know how to use it as a ratchet strap for cinching down loads, a bar clamp for gluing and holding wood, a bench vise for pinning work steady, a come-along for hauling and dragging heavy weight, and I'll show you the one mistake that turns this trick from brilliant into dangerous, because rope doesn't forgive ignorance the way a hardware store tool does. Let's get into it. The trucker's hitch is a simple loop tied partway down a rope, which acts as a temporary pulley. You run the working end of the rope through that loop and pull, and suddenly you've built yourself a 3.1 mechanical advantage. Every pound you pull, the load feels 3 pounds of tension. On deck, this is exactly how sailors lashed cargo down before it could shift in rough water. It's not about arm strength. It's about geometry. Grab any length of rope. Paracord's fine for small jobs, 3 weight-inch nylon for real loads. Tie a simple loop about 1/3 of the way down the rope. Run the free end through that loop, pull hard, and finish with 2 half hitches to lock it off. A ratchet strap costs $15 to $30 and does exactly 1 job. This knot costs you the price of rope you probably already own, and it cinches a mattress to your roof rack just as hard as any strap. Tighter, actually, because you control the tension by feel instead of a ratchet mechanism that stops wherever it stops. And once you can tie this knot in the dark, half asleep, the way a deckhand has to on a rolling ship, you're ready for the next trick, because the same loop that cinches a load is about to become a clamp. Take that same trucker's hitch mechanical advantage and apply it sideways, across 2 boards you're gluing instead of down onto cargo. Wrap the rope around both pieces, tie your loop, run the tail through, and pull. You're generating clamping pressure without ever opening your wallet for a bar clamp. Lay your glued boards on sawhorses. Loop rope around both pieces near one end, tie the trucker's hitch loop, thread the tail through, and cinch. Repeat every 12 to 16 inches down the joint. Use scrap wood cawls under the rope so it doesn't dent the work piece, a trick borrowed straight from padding cargo against chafe. A single bar clamp set runs $80 to $150. You need 4 or 5 for a proper glue-up. This rope method scales to any length board you own, something no clamp in your garage can do. Here's where it gets more serious, though, because once you're not just cinching a load down, but holding a workpiece steady while you cut or drill it, you're not making a strap anymore. You're building a vise. This is the Spanish windlass. And yes, the name is exactly what it sounds like, because sailors used this method to tension rigging lines before mechanical winches existed on deck. Take a loop of rope around your workpiece and a fixed post, then insert a stick through the loop and twist. Every rotation shortens the loop and multiplies your force. Loop rope around your workpiece and a solid anchor point. A workbench leg, a post, a tree. Slip a foot-long stick or dowel through the loop. Twist the stick like you're wringing a towel. The loop tightens with every turn, clamping your workpiece dead still. Lock the stick against the anchor point to hold the tension. A decent bench vise runs $60 and up, and it's bolted in one spot in your garage. This rope and stick vise goes wherever your project is, and it holds tension a fixed vise can't, because you're generating force with leverage, not a screw thread. Now stop and picture something for a second. That stick you just twisted into the loop. The harder you turn it, the more force builds in that rope. That force doesn't disappear. It's stored. And stored rope tension is exactly what's about to let you replace the most expensive tool on this list. Chain multiple truckers' hitches, or a full Spanish windlass system anchored to a second point, and you can drag weight that would otherwise need a hand winch or come along. This is the same basic method sailors used to warp a ship against a dock before engines existed, hauling a line hand over hand and cinching it tighter with each pass. Anchor one end of your rope to a solid point, a tree, a truck hitch, a deep-set stake. Run the rope to your load. Tie a trucker's hitch partway along, cinch it as tight as you can by hand, then tie off. Attach a second rope section further down and repeat. Each cycle drags the load a few feet closer. A basic hand come-along runs $40 to $90. This system does the same job with gear you already own, the same patience it took to move a ship without an engine. This is also where I want to bring up something free, because I don't want you improvising rope diameters and knot choices from a video alone. I put together a one-page reference. Which rope thickness holds what load, and the 3 knots in this video drawn out step by step. It's linked below, no email required. Grab it before you try the winch version on anything heavier than a few hundred pounds, because that's exactly where this trick can turn on you. Every one of these tricks works because rope stores enormous tension, and that's also the danger. Nylon rope stretches under load, and if it fails while stretched, it doesn't just drop the weight, it snaps back like a slingshot. On deck, this is called parting, and it's one of the oldest, most respected dangers in sailing. A frayed line under tension has taken fingers and worse. Never load rope above roughly 10 to 20% of its stated breaking strength for repeated everyday use. Never stand in the snapback zone, directly in line with a rope under tension. And never use old, sun-faded, or fraying rope for anything above hand tension. This is the point that got lost when trades knowledge stopped passing hand to hand. My father used to say, a green sailor could spot a knot but couldn't spot a bad line. And that's what separates knowing the trick from respecting it. He watched a line part on deck once, early in his career, and it's the first thing he taught me before he ever taught me the knot itself. Respect the tension before you respect the trick. So there it is. One knot, the trucker's hitch, and one twist system, the Spanish windlass, standing in for a ratchet strap, a bar clamp, a bench vise, and a come-along. 4 tools, 1 length of rope, and a piece of knowledge that's been keeping cargo and sailors secure for centuries. Reality beat expectations here. This wasn't a life hack. It was a working trade skill, still fully capable, sitting forgotten in plain sight. Here's your one action step. Go find a rope in your garage right now, any rope, and tie the basic trucker's hitch loop 3 times in a row until your hands remember it without looking. Next video, I'm breaking down the midshipman's hitch, the adjustable knot that replaces every bungee cord you own, and the one knot my father said saved more tarps than duct tape ever did. Before you go, tell me in the comments, what's the one specialty tool sitting in your garage that you'd actually be willing to retire for a piece of rope?